When you're trying to pull off an authentic period piece, something based on real people, real events, and a real time period, and you're building it entirely using AI tools, nailing the look isn't optional, it's everything. Because with AI, the smallest detail can give it away. If it feels even slightly off, the illusion breaks. And normally, that pressure is just creative. But this time, it wasn't just creative pressure, it was personal. Because the project that I'm building right now isn't random. It's a trailer concept for Chubby Checker. And this one hits closer to home than most projects that I work on. There's family history tied to it. There's real geography tied to it. There are real memories connected to the places that this story began. And I'll go deeper into that in my next videos as I take you behind the scenes of this build. But just know that this isn't just a creative exercise for me, there's actually weight behind it. And that's exactly why the look and the integrity matter so much. If I'm gonna tell you this story, even in trailer form, it has to feel authentic and it has to feel real. And part of what gave me the confidence to even attempt something like this was the release of Kling 3.0 Omni. When it dropped, it felt like a real shift, like AI storytelling had finally leveled up. And for the first time, I felt like the tools were strong enough to handle something with emotional weight and historical grounding and heavy dialogue. So over the past few weeks, I've been pushing Kling 3.0 heavily on its native platform. But for this project, I wanted to stress test a different workflow. And I'd heard that Higgsfield Studio 2.0 runs on Kling 3.0 Omni, but adds additional controls and structures around it. And since I already had credits setting inside of Higgsfield, I figured this was the perfect excuse to see how it really performs inside of a serious cinematic build. And as I was already deep into Cinema Studios, I started seeing something else pop up, Higgsfield Soul 2.0. And I hadn't really touched it yet, but then Higgsfield reached out and asked if I'd review it. And honestly, the timing made sense. And over the next few weeks, I'm going to be taking you behind the scenes of this AI trailer build, testing different tools inside of this project and seeing what actually makes the cut and what doesn't. And this week is Higgsfield Soul 2.0. We'll see if it earns its place. So let's dive in and see what it's all about. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into Higgsfield and get started. The first thing that you're going to notice is that when you open it up, there's a lot going on. It can feel a little overwhelming at first, but here's what we're going to do. From the main screen, click on Image. Then you select Higgsfield Soul 2.0, and once you do that, you'll see all the images that you've previously generated right on your screen here. Now, down below is basically the control center. So let me clear out this prompt here. All right, so down below is where all the tools live. You've got your aspect ratios, vertical, square, horizontal. One thing they don't have is 21:9, which I've been using a lot on these projects, but that's fine. I guess you can crop it or reformat it later when you move on to generating video. And you've got quality options here. You have 2K or 1.5K, prompt enhancement up to 4 generations per batch, then color transfer, which actually we'll dive into in a bit, and then the character section, then presets and mood boards, and then the generate button. Now, one of their big features here is the whole character system. They're really focused on character consistency, which is the main part of the game right now, right? When it comes to AI image and video generation and AI filmmaking. And to give you a little bit of history, back in the summer of 2025, way back when, before Nano Banana Pro was doing what it's doing right now, this was actually the main tool that I was using to get consistent characters between this and ideogram. And that's how I was locking in characters across scenes for the Life of the Lazy Mon voyage montage that I was building out. So they've been doing this whole thing for a while. Now, when you go to build out a character, they're recommending 20 photos. And 20, it feels like a lot. 6 months ago, that made sense. That was the price for consistency. But now, with newer models getting close to strong results with 1 to maybe 3 reference images, asking for 20 feels pretty heavy. So here's what I did. So instead of trying to gather 20 manual photos, which is hard, especially if it's an AI character that you made up, I built out a dataset first. And for this, I use Cinema Studio and Nano Banana Pro. You can use either one, whatever you want with this. With Cinema Studio, you can generate a character using just 2 to 3 images, and it does pretty well. You name it, you set it up, and it builds from there. So I created the character with a couple of images, then I started just generating images for the dataset. I ran a bunch of prompts, I got a bunch of images, I downloaded the ones that stayed consistent, the ones that didn't drift. Those ended up becoming the dataset. Then I went back into Soul 2.0 and dropped that dataset in and trained the character properly. So what you do is you upload your images, and as soon as you're uploading them, it gives you feedback on the image quality and suitability, which is actually pretty helpful. But even with 23 images, it said that the dataset wasn't ideal. So yeah, they really want volume here. It seems like a lot. But once everything is uploaded, you hit create, and it looks like it costs 25 credits. And for me, with this, the training, it took about 5 minutes. Now, one thing that I noticed is that if you've already built characters before, you don't have to start from scratch. You can click update and retrain an existing character on the new engine. It looks like it's for 25 credits. So instead of rebuilding the entire data set, you just upgrade it, which is actually pretty nice. And actually on their part, that's a smart move because building these data sets once is already enough work. Now let's talk about the presets and the mood boards. So Higgsfield is known for styles and presets, and this is no different here. They've got, it looks like around 15 to 20 presets baked in, and this whole thing isn't revolutionary. Other platforms are doing similar things, but it can be useful. So for example, if you're building a cinematic series or trying to maintain a unified look, having your tone really centralized in one area helps out a lot. So inside of this preset section, you can get a certain look really quick. So if you just want to vibe without going through the whole process of building out your own tone, presets are actually a pretty fast way to get there. So personally, I like building out my own stuff so it doesn't start looking like everybody else's, but if speed matters more than uniqueness for a specific project and the preset works, go for it. Now, the feature that I really wanted to test was this whole color transfer thing right here. So while I was training my character, I jumped into the whole color transfer section to check it out. And what you do is you upload a reference image, and it could be like a still from a film that you like or one of your own previous generations, anything that has the tonal language and color that you're aiming for. And once you upload it, Soul 2.0 extracts the color palette and generates a hex-based style profile. One time it pulled like 5 colors, but sometimes it looks like it pulls more. And you can rename it or you can let it auto name it. Then you save it and attach that color profile to your next generations. So what it looks like it's doing is analyzing the dominant tones and contrast balance within the frame and just using that. So what I did was I took an image that had the exact cinematic tone that I wanted, and then I generated the hex profile. Then I used that and I ran completely different prompts. So you can see, as you can see right here, there's a whole bunch of different ones. And honestly, with the first generations, they were pretty impressive. Like the tone, the balance stayed consistent, the warp stayed consistent, the contrast, it felt pretty unified. So even when the image changed, the composition changed, or whatever, it felt like it belonged in the same world. Now with this, when you generate wider shots, character consistency, it gets harder. And that's just the nature of these models. Once you have a wider shot, less data in there, it gets a little iffy with the character sometimes. And right here, in multi-character scenes, here's something strange. So sometimes the background characters look like variations of your main character. So there's a whole bunch of, it's your main character and then a whole bunch of different variations of that wandering around in the background. It's very strange. Funny, but really unusable. So keep that in mind. Also, the text rendering is also not very strong. Some of the signage wasn't reasonable, but stylistically, it's giving you something really solid to work with. But you can always take it back into Nano Banana and fix those kind of things. Now, this whole part right here with the image-driven workflow is where it really starts to get interesting. So instead of text prompts, right here you can upload an image as the prompt, as the driver. But you can't combine the image as the prompt and do a text prompt at the same time. You have to choose one. So for this whole thing, I wanted to go back to Old Faithful, and that's Pinterest, because I constantly still to this day use Pinterest for brainstorming and for looking up just interesting looks or interesting angles and just photography and all those kind of things. But before this whole process, I would go and grab something for inspiration and then try to reverse engineer it into a prompt and just hope that the model would understand what I meant. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. Sometimes it was just like pulling teeth. But with this, you can upload the image and let the system interpret the visual language directly. So I tested it with Pinterest with a few images. And for the first one, I left the whole color palette active to see what happened. And then I removed it. And it's pretty interesting, pretty impressive. It mirrored the angles, the lighting direction, the framing intent. And it's not identical, but very close in vibe and in the structure of it. And you don't want it to be the exact same thing. You want it to be the exact same thing as somebody else's image and somebody else's art. So sometimes showing the model what you want is a lot easier than describing it. So after doing all this testing, after that I had an idea and I wanted to test out a little mini workflow. So what I did was I took this image that was generated in Soul 2.0 and then I pulled it into Cinema Studio. Now, I'd already built out the character in Cinema Studio earlier when creating the dataset, so I wanted to see if it would hold up in motion. So I built these couple little, 8 and 12 second dialogue scenes just to see what happened. And the character consistency, it held up. The look, the light, the scene, it held up really well. Not perfect, like this one, the microphone changed between takes, but you can see the potential here with a few takes and maybe tweaking the prompt or something like that. This could really work out.
Thank you, New York. Growing up when I was a boy in Andrews, South Carolina, I never imagined I'd be here.
And that's what I was working for, the potential to drop this into my regular AI film workflow, or at least sometimes use it in my AI film workflow. So overall, here's what I like about it. I like the cinema default look. I like the strong close-up character consistency thing. The color transfer part, that is genuinely helpful. I think I'm gonna actually use that a lot. And the image-based prompting too. I think I'm gonna definitely mess around with that a bit. And yeah, so those are some of the things that I really like about it. But what I don't like about it is that whole 20+ reference image thing, that seems like a lot. The whole background character duplication when it's got a whole bunch of mini yous in the background, that's not great. And the text rendering, that could definitely get better. But the thing about it is that Higgsfield doesn't even position this as the final polish tool. They say that it's like a stage in the whole pipeline. They even suggested moving from this point into Nano Banana for cleanup and detail refinement. So if you treat it like that, it kind of makes sense. All right, so my final take on Soul 2.0 is that it's not revolutionary, but it seems pretty practical. So if you're trying to maintain cinematic tone, color language, character continuity, I think this could actually fit into your pipeline because I'm probably gonna be using parts of this. And honestly, a big part of this whole thing is just knowing what tools exist, knowing what might solve a problem when you hit one. And that whole workflow awareness, for me, is just powerful. It's being able to think and know what tool might handle something when it comes up. And that's where this whole thing fits, in my opinion. It's another option in the toolkit, and I can really appreciate that. So over the next few weeks, I'm gonna dive deeper into this whole trailer project alongside the Life of the Lazy Mom project that I'm doing and some client work. But the whole point of this is not just to figure it out for myself or just to make the trailer, but to build out a blueprint so that you can start to finish your own AI cinematic trailer from start to finish very easily. And along the way, I'll probably drop some templates and guides just as I build things out. So if you see them, go ahead and grab them because I don't always leave these things up there forever. But the links for that will be in the description. And if you made it this far, honestly, if you got any value out of this whole thing, or if you just want to follow the journey as I build out these projects, subscribe and follow along. I'd really appreciate that. So, all right, well, I guess I'll just catch you in the next one.